I'm Hassan Fazain Khan. I am from Bradford and I'm an actor. I grew up in a home that was not always the best, not always the safest. There was a lot of chaos going on. I remember the only times as a kid that I would look forward to and know that there was going to be some stability was when the soaps were coming on. That would be like a solid hour and a half, 3 hours of peace in my house. I look forward to that, and soaps were my sanctuary.
My name is Musana Ahmed. I'm a development executive. I work at Pure Fiction TV. I grew up in a small former mill town called Briarfield. The way I would experience the world from there was really through the screen. Regardless of film or television, it was just hard to imagine full-fledged professional careers.
I'm Claire Bennett. I'm a professional writer, which is a rarity in the West Midlands. The only things I was ever good at school were art and English. Even saying I wanted to be a writer, I couldn't say it out loud.
I am Danny Brocklehurst and I'm a screenwriter. I had no aspiration really to work in TV. I didn't know how you worked in TV. Nobody I knew worked in TV. Nobody I knew worked in the media because it just didn't seem like something that people like me did. It would have been like saying you're going to be in space or something.
I'm Cameron Roach. I'm executive producer on Waterloo Road and I run a production label, Rope Bladder Fiction. My ambition as I moved through school and onto university was actually moving to journalism. I had aspirations to work on Newsnight, actually.
I'm Caroline Moran and I am a comedy writer. I defy anyone else who've watched as much television as me when I was a kid. I would watch the credits of programmes and I'd sort of see all these job titles, sort of understood what a director was always like, what does a producer do? It turns out now, actually, everything.
Because he always said it at the end, producer. And I sort of remember thinking, God, I wonder how you do that. You must have to go to some special school or something, you know.
I don't really see people like myself very often in development.
You don't hear a lot of Brummie accents in television, really.
If I did talk like a standard BD3 boy, or even myself at the time, I would have stood out like a sore thumb.
It's a rare thing and a very beautiful thing to be with other working class women writers.
If you were to actually do a survey, you would still find people from working class backgrounds are in the way in the minority.
The latest research that came out earlier this year was that 8% of people working in the UK TV industry are from working class backgrounds. 8.
8?
8.
8?
Yes.
I mean, that's really quite depressing. Would it count? You know, it's like a few dozen people.
I would have probably gone low teens, but 8.
If that's the stats, then something seriously needs to be done about it.
The first full-time role can feel very elusive. The moment you do get into it, you almost do feel like, you know, I can make something of this.
I didn't actually feel like it was possible until I landed my first role, and even then it felt like this was a dream.
The gap between me putting on something in a room above a pub and getting something on telly, you know, there's lots of stages between those two. For it to not seem like a crazy dream to go into the industry is a big first step.
Scholarships are super important, but I think the issue with them is being able to maintain them, to be able to have a support around them where the environment is understood.
The training and development that actually works is where you're actually part of a functioning production. Universities or colleges, quite often the roles that are spoken about are writers and directors, whereas you can build a brilliant career as a location manager, as an accountant, as a lawyer, as a makeup designer.
How do you know if you can be a TV makeup artist? How do you know if you can be a first AD? Most people don't even know what a first AD. I'm not sure I know what a first AD is, to be perfectly honest, half the time.
As the industry has fractured and become more fragmented, we have less and less of those central, vertically integrated organisations where people can really visibly see what progress or progression might look like.
Sorry, there's one question that was in the chat about why people leave before senior roles. I actually think one of them is because this industry is very London-centric. As a result, the industry loses out on some really talented people before they can get to that sort of top level because they don't necessarily want to stay in London.
I've never had a meeting with a production company that hasn't been in London, and those trains are expensive, extremely expensive. And if you are from a working class background and you don't have access to financial resources, is it sustainable as a career?
That nature of work and people's ability to cope with it is probably the biggest reason people leave the industry.
It's the biggest thing, isn't it? The foot in the door, and people say once you're in there, you're in there. But once you're in there, you've got to maintain it.
Because you think, oh, you've got commission, you know, that's it, it's the big time, Hollywood, here we come, see you at the Oscars. But then sort of nothing really happens because TV commissioning is very, very slow.
I think it's so different when you compare it to a lot of other careers, whether that's going into teaching or nursing or legal profession. There are some very obvious steps on that ladder, whereas TV, there are no rules and everyone has a completely different journey.
I'm allowed to talk about Nepo babies.
I feel lucky that this job was advertised very publicly because now, having been in the industry, I know many jobs that are never advertised publicly.
The majority of where it is people give work to people like them. And that's got to be changed.
How do I explain this? So big decisions are not always made in an office. It's through networking and conversations. So if you didn't have a lot of money and let's say everybody was going to go for a drink after work and you don't end up going, you're not then going to be a part of a very potential valuable conversation that could have pivoted your career.
Why I would also be an advocate for continuing drama is I do think it's a place where we can really fuel the economy with working class voices.
Doctors was only going to be on for 6 weeks originally. It was glorious because it was essentially a play every day. It gave people chances, it allowed for risk-taking, people learning about the show and given the opportunity to pitch, and a lot of people came through and got commissions. Not necessarily became core writers, but got a TV credit. And that's one of the reasons why it is criminal that they finished it.
How do you actually get hours under your belt of writing TV that's actually made and said by actors, and you're learning and you're working with other writers, and it's really difficult. And if you're not getting that experience, I mean, first of all, you're not learning, but also you're not earning, and you're not, you're just not in the industry properly, are you?
What I can see is lots of people working in development, learning from other people around them. And if that is predominantly a kind of middle-class environment, middle-class white environment, then the learned behaviours continue.
If all the producers, all the commissioners are, let's say, of the same class, it just means they have the same references, they have the same taste, they have the same stories, and a lot of sort of voices get shut out.
We'd had the feedback sometimes that the working class slot had been filled and the women's project had been done.
If there's a South Asian character, it's usually it's a very targeted storyline. It should be roles written authentically for us that we want to play because we exist.
I think right now, especially, we seem to be sort of operating on extremes in terms of depiction of class on TV.
I'm going to sound like such a bore. They're like people of privilege think working class people were in 1958. There's a whole focus on animosity and scratchiness. And actually, I think that ordinary working people are much nicer than that.
In badly written working class characters, there can be a sort of flattening. It's someone in a tracksuit and kind of their personality is a tracksuit.
Even when it comes to being black or brown or even, working class, to have writers who have lived experience to be able to write about that stuff is super important. Otherwise, we're just looking at that working class character through a very particular lens.
We mustn't back ourselves into a corner of doing, you know, and I'm as guilty as the next man. I've done thrillers that travel, but it can't be everything that can play in 150 countries. As we move into a sort of streaming age, there is a danger. If people don't think things will travel, if they think it's too parochial or grim, or the accent's too strong, or this or that, they may not make those shows.
I could see the notes would be, how can we make the drama more extreme in terms of what the sort of like circumstances are? Are they about to like lose it all?
When you're talking about working class backgrounds, there are lots of invisible things at play. The uncomfortable conversations are those people which are slightly masquerading.
In this industry, everyone sort of like wants the underdog story. People will really try to sell you that like they come from a much more underprivileged position than they actually are. Disappointing for me, because it just means that space is taken away from funding schemes or commissioning opportunities, or to take away the opportunity to tell a story that is underrepresented. So if anything, I'm more impressed that 92% of people are honest about not being working class. I've probably code switched quite a lot to try and sound more coherent, I suppose. Some people might feel like they just don't fit in, like feel like an apple in a company full of oranges.
I think it was like a defense mechanism, like an automatic kind of thing in me that knew to switch to make myself more acceptable, or to make sure that I was kind of safe in the room and, you know, nobody was going to have eyes on me.
I realised that they referred to me as the gobby brummy. And then I decided that I would use Bab because it's of my region and because it's what people say. Now I Bab it all the time, and other people Bab.
You can't fully do your job to your best potential when there's people in the room making you doubt yourself.
I remember going to Sheffield Documentary Festival in 2017, and Maxine Peake said something about how working class people are taught that ambition is a bad thing. People who have imposter syndrome are the ones who probably shouldn't have it in the first place.
Well, it is brutal, isn't it, freelance? I mean, like, literally, if somebody doesn't employ you, you don't get paid. I mean, that's a daft way to live your life, really.
Riding the freelancer roller coaster, deciding I'm going to give it all up and go back to web design. I had a fallback plan for, I'm going to go and live in Lincoln and code PHP. That's what I'm going to do. Get out of this comedy game.
How do you explain to an agent who's worked with so many professional people that you don't have £9 or £12 in your account for your direct debit for Spotlight for that month, or even if it's going to come in 3-4 days, you still feel ashamed to have to even say that, and then to explain it to somebody who's questioning it. That's just a whole other deep level of rooted shame that's rooted within this kind of industry. What is the full impact of, you know, being working class in the screen industry?
8% now. But like you see, who consumes it? That would be an interesting statistic, wouldn't it? What is the percentage of the consumption of television and streaming drama that is consumed by working people?